Hello everyone and welcome back to another high-level match of StarCraft 2. What I've got for you today is a best-of-3 series from the GSL Code S, where in game number 1 we find ourselves on the map. Royal Blood. Spotting right here in the top right-hand corner, playing with the blue Zerg drones. We're looking inside of the main base of Dark. His opponent in the opposite corner with the red Terran SCVs, he goes by the name of GuMiho. Alrighty. If you were to ask me to make a list of my favorite players right now, both of these guys would definitely be in the top 10, okay? Maybe even top 5. I don't know, it's gonna be difficult. I have a lot of players that I really enjoy watching, but there's no denying that both Dark and Gumi play some of the most fun StarCraft 2 at this point in time, and while they're doing so at a very high level, as GuMiho decides to go for the low ground wall off right here on Royal Blood. I think it's gonna be double Rex as well. For some reason though, I mean, the style that shouldn't that go one square to the left? Am I crazy? Anyways, the style that I really like to see GuMiho play is that mech-based army, right? GuMiho was playing mech long before it was cool. Battle mech right now seems to be quite a popular unit composition at this level of play. And now that everybody's doing it, suddenly GuMiho is a bit too much of a diva, I suppose. And he seems to be very fond of playing Marines once again. Obviously, this is something he's always done. But it really feels like this is a GuMiho patch right now, although, you know, he's been looking solid. He's got some really good results over the last couple of months. So, who am I to talk? Anyways, we've got ourselves a double Rex opener. This is something that both Beyond and Maru and basically all of the Korean Terrans are very fond of. Basically, it's difficult for the Zerg player right now to figure out what's going on, so you never really know if there's going to be like a third barracks right over there instead of the main base too. Although we're going straight into Marines here. Which is a little bit funny. So GuMiho playing a variation of this. Okay, Dark at this point has spotted it. What exactly is the point of making 2 Marines right now? So this is basically telling the Zerg that there's not gonna be any scouting from the Terran whatsoever. So Dark is going to lose his Overlord, and obviously that kind of sucks. But you know for a fact right now that Terran is not going to, we're gonna fly that barracks all the way over here. Terran's not going to scout you anytime soon. I honestly don't even know if you need to make these Zerglings right over here. There's not really a chance. I mean, these guys may very well start hunting down the second Overlord, but it looks like Dark has been pretty conservative with his Overlord position, at least judging by the minimap. Yeah, the bad boys are already coming back home. Dark immediately goes for a Roach Warren. I almost feel like this is bait. When you're playing against Dark and you're giving him the chance to make a Roach Warren early on, he will pretty much always do so. So, curious to see how Gumi is going to approach this. He did have to, by the way, I believe, reposition that barracks, so that's kind of interesting. Reactor over here. Lovely little work right here with the Zerglings, actually. I thought the Zerglings were going to try and chase down those Marines that have now marched all the way across the map, by the way. These Queens are, going to take that down pretty easily. The Zerglings are just poking away at whatever they can. There's really no way that these Marines are going to get much done. And now in the meantime, that Roach Warren, since there was no Reaper, it's completely unscouted. The only way in which I can see GuMiho defending this is if he decides to go straight into Banshees. And even then, it is going to be difficult. One of the nice things about this sort of start usually is that you finish up, say it's like a 3.5 minute Roach Warren, so like a standard timed aggressive Roach Warren. This one is way sooner than that. Usually if you go into the Stimpack upgrade, you're gonna finish it right around the same time as the Roach push hits. But this Roach attack is gonna be so early that GuMiho, he doesn't know at this point. I don't really like this position for him. He is gonna go for the Banshee. He's also gone for the 3rd command center. Even now though, the Banshee starts up as the Roaches are like 80% across the map. Maybe he spotted a couple of those Roaches on the tail end right there with that one Hellion of his. I can't wrap my head around this build. There's no Stimpack. Really, all we achieved is no scouting whatsoever, a late command center, and 1 Overlord. I don't think this is a very good build. I think I would have liked it better if Gumi decided to just straight hard counter a Roach push, because that is something that Dark will be more than fond of going for, right? Like, that is something he really loves to do. Now, this is the GSL Code S, so he's certainly prepared for this series in advance, but whatever he had planned, I don't think it worked out. Yeah, there's really no way he's gonna... I mean, he's gonna take a lot of damage. Dark, in the meantime, has been droning for a bit already, so you can see the work account right now at the bottom of the screen. 40 drones here. This is all gonna get cleaned up eventually, but yeah. It would have been really cool if GuMiho decided to go for a scoutless opener, snipe that one Overlord at the start of the game, and then go double Starport Banshee on the back of it, just because he knew that he was playing against Dark, right? He knows he's playing against Dark, so therefore, the odds of Dark... Oh, okay. The odds of Dark going for a Roach Push, they're pretty big. I think... Well, basically every game over the last couple of months, whenever the Terran doesn't go for a Reaper, or they end up losing the Reaper early, I'm fairly sure in, like, pretty much every instance, Dark goes for a Roach Warren. So it would have been kind of cool if GuMiho decided to play into that. Either way, game number 2, we find ourselves on Neo-Humanity. And it looks like Gumi is gonna go for more barracks. The man has suddenly become a barracks connoisseur. Fair enough. Ooh. Even a third SCV is gonna be joining the first 2 as well. So this is hyper-aggression coming out of GuMiho, who's gonna try and obtain the victory here as quickly as he possibly can. So one of the things I really like about the GSL is the fact that it's a long-running tournament, right? So the competitors, they know who they're gonna be facing against in the near future. So you have a little bit of time to prepare. Most of the StarCraft tournaments, they're played in a day or maybe a weekend, sometimes 4 or 5 days if it's a crazy tournament. But the GSL literally lasts months. So because of that, you have a lot of time to prepare, especially if you're in a team and you can study all of your opponent's replays. You can have your teammates helping you out as well. Usually the craziest strategies, they happen in the GSL Code S, and I really thought Gumi was gonna go for some cheeky hard counter there to whatever Dark has been, well, going for lately. Obviously there's some 3D chess going on as well in those sort of matchups, right, where you know that your opponent knows what your tendencies are, so therefore you know that your opponent knows that you... Anyways, there's some cool styles that usually happen in the GSL. Maybe GuMiho was gonna... There is a chance that GuMiho was playing the bluff 3 times over, that he was making these... Anyways, let's talk about this. So, Dark decides to pull a lot of the boys. That is a lot of drones. This is mostly just to buy time and to prevent any bunkers from coming up. Fair enough. That is also a lot of lost mining, though, for our Zerg. Bunker does start up eventually, but at the very least, this has bought a lot of time right now for Lynx to come out. Queen's about halfway done at this point, which is really nice. That bunker can't finish, though. Yeah, I think he's gonna have to pull the boys again. That's exactly what he decides to do right now. How much damage can GuMiho deal before this gets shut down? The drones, I mean, they're not getting the wraparound so far, and that's a whole lot of them going down. A couple Marines have fallen as well, but this is really good right here for the Terran player. A classic Terran cheese. This is something we've seen a million times before, and maybe worst of all right here for Dark. He pulled all of those workers and the bunker still finished up. Okay. Honestly, at this point... Oh, there's even a couple of drones that can't make it back home. At this point, GuMiho doesn't really need to keep playing this. He can just make a command center. I wouldn't hate it. Yeah, I think that's what he can do. So we're now at 19 versus 11 workers. I mean, technically we have that many workers, but a bunch of the drones aren't even really mining, so Dark's economy is absolutely wrecked here. All that Gumi really needs to do is just hold whatever counterattack the Zerg has got planned. And so far, I mean, we're not mining any gas. We don't have link speed coming up. It's just gonna be drones again and maybe a spine crawler or 2, but that's really about it. GuMiho isn't even done yet, by the way, with the aggression. He's pumping out Marines at the same time as he's making SCVs. I thought he was gonna go for a CC on the low ground, but I think he probably was also looking at a situation in this game and he realized, wait a second, I don't even think I need to get that fancy. Just keep pumping out Marines, go for some gases here, right? Maybe make a factory on the back of this just to be 100% safe. If you can kill that hatchery, obviously it's game over. And at this point, I don't see what Zor can do about it. Nope. Okay. Cheeky little game number 2 right here from our Terran. I mean, even if he loses all of these Marines... Okay, pretty good wraparound right there for the Zerg. There's more Marines on the back of this too, though. Yeah. Yeah. Nah, the hatchery is likely to fall here. It's a lot of very low HP Marines. Honestly, this is better for Dark than I thought it was gonna be, to be honest. Anyhow, the problem is there's no follow-up here for the Zerg, so he's planning on playing a bit of a macro game, I suppose. One of the spines falls, though, and therefore the hatchery will also go down. Queen is running incredibly low, and it's indeed GuMiho who wins game number 2. Okay. Next up, we find ourselves on Goresven. That's gonna be map number 3 in this Best-of-3 series. Goresven is, of course, the macro map. A lot of players are very happy to make expansions on this particular one. If you've been watching my Twitch live stream, you may remember some of the games I played this week. My god. I played some of the most frustrating games of my life. Can I rant about it? Should I rant about it? I mean, we don't have any barracks going up across the map here, so that's kind of nice. We don't have any cheeky low ground wall-offs either. No spawning pool first. I think I can rant a little bit. I played against a guy yesterday. By the time you're watching this video, I guess that's 2 days ago. Anyways, I played against a guy who literally went mass command center into mass battle cruiser. And I sniffed it out early. I killed like 30 SCVs by the 10-minute mark. But at some point he managed to get the split map scenario and I lost. It was like a 35-minute long game where I felt like I was losing ever since minute 10, but he never actually attacked me. So it's kind of like a single-player Dota match, you know, where you realize, okay, we have lost this game at the 10-minute mark, but we're gonna have to sit it out all the way until the very end because there is a chance they're gonna mess up and therefore I can obtain the it was a painful one, dude. He never ripped off the band-aid. He was just sitting there making a whole lot of planetaries, a gajillion missile turrets. I got a banger engagement at some point too. I guess in Dota they would call that a wombo combo or something. I don't know, I don't really watch that game. But I managed to get a fungal growth, parasitic bomb, corruptors in on all of the BCs. And if you manage to land a fungal growth on battle cruisers, they can't actually tactical jump backwards. So I killed all of them. But I think the man had like a dozen battle cruisers, and by the time I finally managed to get Zerglings out, he already had like another 12 BCs to go. I'm still hurting. I'm still hurting. That wasn't the only one though. I've played some really frustrating games. For some reason, by the way, this is a comment center first here from Gumi. Sorry, I didn't realize we had a therapy session, you and me. Me talking to my monitor, you, the monitor. GuMiho, after going for really quick barracks in game 1 and 2, now decides to go for a CC first, which I absolutely love. Anyways, it seems like basically all the Terrans I've been facing against over the last couple of days, they're playing that turtle style. So it seems like they're taking the challenge of beating Grandmasters without attacking. Remember that playthrough series? I think it was Beastie Cutie years ago. Who did a series where, well, bronze to Grandmaster without attacking. Where basically you just let the games go the distance. I don't know if you ever finished that one, but yeah. I've gotten destroyed a couple times over the last couple days by Terran players in particular, who would just sit there doing a whole lot of nothing, just turtling up behind walls and walls and walls of units. For what it's worth though, my arch nemesis over like the last 10 years of StarCraft 2, it's always been Skytles. I have been struggling against Skytles for a very long time. I guess just late game Zerg is not really my thing. And it turns out, well, Skytles right now is not very popular at all. Very few Pros players are going for, but I'm noticing a lot more turtling now from Terrans, which is kind of ironic. Anyways, maybe that's this particular series that those Terrans that I've been facing off against are inspired by. This match was played last week. I was wondering about that. Oftentimes, whenever the GSL has some fresh strategies, a lot of Terrans are like, ooh, don't mind if I do. And this is not just Terrans, of course. But for Zerg, the strategies haven't really changed all too much, although I remember when Rogue was going for a lot of Nidus cheese, everybody on the ladder was suddenly going for Nidus cheese. Usually the GSL, yeah, it determines what the future strategies are going to be, at least for the next couple of weeks. Anyways, we've got ourselves a triple CC start right here for GuMiho, triple hatchery beginning, of course, here as well for Dark. Nothing out of the ordinary here so far, other than the fact that GuMiho is playing a very greedy build. I have seen Gumi play a little bit of Mech. It was Gumi, right? Was it against Dark, actually? I'm not entirely sure anymore. On Altitude, where he went for a 1-1-1 into double armory before adding on additional factories. I thought it was a gorgeous build. Incredibly greedy. Oh, yeah, he's doing it again. Okay. Yeah, I haven't seen this build since. Okay, that's actually very exciting. The build that Dark is going for is also allowing this. I don't think that a 4-minute Roach Warren, even a little bit later than that, is going to be a great counter against this. So, GuMiho is playing Mech, but this is an exceptionally greedy build. So, let me just sum it up real quick while I was talking about my problems. command center first on the low ground, into a barracks, factory, third command center, starport, into double armory. So at this point, I mean, there's literally 6 Hellions, a Banshee, and it's not a lot of units, okay? If Dark decided to go for early game cheese, he would be in a lot of trouble. GuMiho, that is. And then we finally go for the additional factories here. Normally, when you play for a mech-based unit composition, you go for the additional factories before the armories. These upgrades, they finish so early. So in that game on altitude, GuMiho didn't actually attack until 3-3. So it's really strange because normally Terran mech, it you know, is pretty passive, right? You may be moving around with your battle mech style army, but this is I guess we can call it a timing attack, or maybe he's gonna go for something else, I'm not entirely sure. But a timing attack with 3-3 research. So it's the absolute latest type of timing attack that you can go for, but it seems incredibly effective. Now, he did it on altitude at the time. That map is absolutely humongous. I think on Gresven, it might be a little bit better. Yeah, okay, so he's gonna be going for a battle mech type of style, but he did make a few siege tanks here. I think mostly because he's concerned for a roach timing. So there's a lot of roach builds where you attack your opponent as soon as 1-1 and the roach speed are done. So I love this little wall off, by the way, from Dark, making it really difficult for Hellions to come in. At the same time, this is far more exposed against siege tank pushes from the low ground, which we've seen many times, especially with Bio. Anyhow, it's gonna be a Spire right here for Dark. I haven't seen this build from GuMiho all too much, so I guess we're gonna find out how this plays out. I love the Raven here, by the way. You guys know I'm a bit of a Raven fanboy. These guys, they're amazing spellcasters, but they're also fantastic when it comes to detecting creep tumors, right? So GuMiho doesn't really care too much about the creep here. He's mostly just trying to buy time. What he really needs is time. I'm assuming he's gonna go straight into the 2-2 research once again. I think he's actually saving up for that. So he's got a lot of resources in the bank. Oh, these Zerglings? Huh? They could go in, but... Okay. Well, that's a lucky scout over here. Not bad whatsoever. Yeah. As soon as 1-1 finished up, GuMiho immediately goes into the 2-2 research. So there's one more after this, and then the Terran units are maxed out. Okay, so how does this style play against a Roach Muta? At this point, I don't think GuMiho knows that there are Mutalisks coming up. Dark has got a stellar economy too, mostly just focused on gas mining here, so he's got 8 gas already, which really is a lot. There are a couple of anti-air units available right now for our Terran player, but I'm a little concerned, honestly. He doesn't know, he hasn't been scanning his opponent's bases here, so he has no clue what he's playing against. 10 Mutas were saved up at this point in time. There is a Thor coming up, so that Thor is incredibly nice to have. But it needed to be out, I think. It needed to be out already. Do we have missile turrets? We do not have any missile turrets, so at this point, I guess all of this will be scouted. I think Dark needs to get a move on. Yeah. So he starts up missile turrets right now. A couple of Cyclones here. One of the very few anti-air units do get caught in the middle of the map. Okay, anti-armor missiles, that would be nice, or maybe an auto turret, something along those lines. Thors do take a long time to pop out, but at the very least it's the correct factory here. Okay, that's actually pretty dang good. Planetary Fortress got the Knight for now? Considering Gumi didn't see this until, well, pretty much the last possible moment. Very nice crisis management right here. Yep. Thors have very long range. They can shoot those missiles pretty easily. His economy has been hindered a little bit though, so I wonder if he can go straight into 3-3 right now, because he really needs as much gas as possible. Maybe that's also why Dark decided to sacrifice a couple of Mutas just to kill that one refinery, recognizing this build right here from the Terran. Okay, so what Dark wants to do is pile on the pressure. Yep, try to kill this Terran before he lays eggs. That's the goal right here, man. This is the T-Rex Terran style. I don't know, we need a name for this build. It's incredibly greedy, but also incredibly powerful. GuMiho, obviously, I mean, yeah, no, maybe a T-Rex is a little rude, right? He's maybe a little slower as far as APM goes, but T-Rex arms, I don't know, that goes a bit far. Love that anti-armor missile, really lovely stuff. That being said though, Dark doesn't really care. Dark's been upgrading primarily, ooh, good corrosive bowels, just attacking units, right? Like he hasn't got a whole lot of armor here. Just a +1 carapace on these units. Most of the time, that orange paint, it scares the Zerg units away, but I actually really love this move here from Dark. He just continues fighting here, trying to maximize the damage. He doesn't really mind the fact that his units are taking more damage, because he's got the bigger numbers. Nidus network on the back of this too, okay. GuMiho has now officially poked the bear. Losing the factory, or sorry, losing the, he apparently walled himself in somehow. Losing the barracks also doesn't allow you anymore to go, he did go for 3-3 immediately. It doesn't allow you to go into additional factories here, so if he wants to add on more factories, he's gonna need to add on a new barracks. Anyhow. Roaches, Ravagers, Lings, and Mutas, that's really all we've got. There's another anti-armor missile, but this is looking pretty turtled up right now here for Gumi. So, despite all this chaos, I do think GuMiho is gonna be able to max out with 3-3 upgrades here in the next few minutes. It's gonna be a hammer right here, right? Like, he's gonna be able to just, well, hammer down his opponent's army pretty easily. Dark may very well be reading this correctly, though, as he's now... So he's pushing it with Roaches and Ravagers, which I really love. It's forcing out a ton of siege tanks, but on the back of this, look at this. He's already got a Greater Spire, too. So he's gonna be backstabbing with Nidus Worms while making Brute Lords. And obviously, what you need against Brute Lords is Thors. You really don't want siege tanks against Brutes. So Roaches and Ravagers, maybe not the best unit composition at this point in the game, but it's the next phase, right? That, yeah, GuMiho really needs to be concerned about. Then again, though, does GuMiho even really need to go for an attack? I'm not so sure that he needs to. I mean, this is what he's been building up for the last 11 minutes. So I wouldn't mind seeing him at the very least test the waters. That was really lovely work right there with the Cyclones. But it's gonna be a little bit difficult for sure. Okay, I think GuMiho may very well be sniffing this out. He still hasn't seen the Spire, but the Greater Spire is coming up. Smart Servos also now researching, and GuMiho indeed does max out at this point in time. The T-Rex Terran? I don't like it. They actually call GuMiho the Towel Terran. I believe he's got a condition called hyperhidrosis. I think that's what it's called. Maybe getting it wrong. Anyways, it's excessive sweating. So apparently he gets excessive sweating in his hands. So whenever you see GuMiho play at a StarCraft 2 tournament, he'll always have a little towel, like a microfiber cloth, over his mouse hand. Or not over his mouse hand, over his mouse. Maybe he can do a double towel too, that would be nice. Anyways, they call him the Towel Terran, which I really do think is a cute nickname. It's fun to say, Towel Terran. Don't forget your towel! No, I haven't seen that in a very long time. Was that even remotely close? I don't know. Here we go. 3-3. Wrapped up. Well, in 3 seconds from now. Interference Matrix on an Infestor. Trying his very best to prevent this Zerg army from slowing him down. Neural Parasite is coming up though. This Terran army, it's looking pretty scary, but I feel like there's more units. Okay, yeah, he's leaving quite a few siege tanks behind. I guess that's the downside of Gresvin. I don't know if I love this for the Terran here. No, this is so many Zerg units. Just tearing this all apart. Excellent creep spread as well by Dark, by the way, who's been happily taking every single base on his side of the map. Okay, we have those Medivacs added into the mix as well. One thing that GuMiho does is, well, focus on just the heavy hitters, right? So rather than going for a whole lot of ghosts in the late game, he decides to go for Medivacs. Now, I love the idea of going for boosted Medivacs, especially when you're boosting like Hellbats into Hydras and all that, but I'm not sure how it plays out against this particular Zerg style. So the Ghost is amazing with Ghost Mech, primarily because of the fact, oh, here's a Zergling drop coming up, primarily because of the fact that it can slow down a lot of the Zerg late game units, be it Spellcasters, Lurkers, Brute Lords, Ultras, whatever. All of those units are vulnerable, at the very least, to the... Ooh, Fusion Core coming up. To the Ghost. So with this sort of army, I don't think we're gonna be going for Ghosts. Instead, we're just gonna try our very best. No, this isn't gonna do too much. We're just gonna try and do our best, I suppose. Going for the heavy hitters. No tricks, straight up combat here instead right now for the Terran. Okay, so I think it's gonna be for Liberator range. The advanced ballistics research is likely what we'll be seeing here coming up for Gumi. Here's the problem though. Worms are everywhere. Brute Lords have arrived. This is a very scary army for the Terran right now. Corrosive Biles, oh, clumped up Liberators. Lovely work right there by Dark. The economy here for Gumi is good, but it's very difficult for him to take future bases from here. And Dark is trying his best to prevent him from ever getting future bases. This angle over here is brutal for the Terran player to fight with Brutes. Or, sorry, to fight the Brutes in, rather, with the Thors. He's adding on 4 additional starports right now, which is really nice, but the Thors have a very hard time getting in range right now of the Brutes. In a straight-up battle, there's a Neural Parasite too. These Brute Lords definitely, lose against the Thors. But so far, man, the damage that this Zerg army is dealing is absolutely tremendous. It's difficult for the Zerg here to counter the Thors, but it turns out the best counter to Thors is Thors, right? Neural Parasiting those units. Queens over here as well. Corrosive Biles still left, right, and center. Dark trying to see if he can win the game off of this, though. Now going for 33 roaches on the back of this. The Infestors may be a little too far forward, and you know what? I think he may very well be right. He's forcing out more and more Thors here, which is fantastic here for the Zerg, because he is just going mass roach on the back of this. He's got those Nidus Worms. Maybe he could have used those to reinforce, but he doesn't really need it. Advanced Ballistics, though, is indeed coming up. We really do need more bases here for Gumi, dude. He really needs additional expansions, because if he's just gonna sit on these 5 bases of his, he's gonna run out of juice in the next couple of minutes. If Dark has any say in the matter, though, he wants him to run out right now. Corrosive Biles, just straight up roaches. They end up killing that base pretty easily. A Thor drop over here as well to try and kill the remainder of the Brutes. That really showcases you right there how much damage those Thors really can deal against the Brute Lords. Corrosive Biles, though, so incredibly annoying. Taking down the Liberators, taking down the Siege Tanks. Dark has already got full upgrades as well on the Zerglings, by the way. I wouldn't mind seeing a flood of those coming up at this moment, but... okay. GuMiho trying his best to stabilize. Dark doesn't have a lot of money anymore. He's playing this like he's never gonna run out of cash. But he's gonna have to take out another credit card very soon. Or maybe another round of drones. We're now 17 minutes into the game. 17 minutes in. The natural, the third, the main base, they're all starting to run low. We still have the base over here at the 3 o'clock position, so I guess that's sort of nice. But Dark must realize at this point that his opponent is slowly bleeding out, and that's exactly what he's trying to abuse. He's got all the tech here that he really needs to play a late game, but he realizes right now that the Terran, they must be on their last leg. He needs to be careful though, because none of these traits are cost efficient for the Zerg. And it's not like he's got a lot of money here to make a tech transition either. Looks like, okay, the command center will survive. Yeah, resources lost-wise, I mean, it's not even that bad for the Zerg though, considering he's been heavily out-mining the Terran the entire game long. This is actually pretty darn good right here for the Zerg player, only losing a bunch of additional gas. Battle Cruiser transition, coming right up here for GuMiho. That's what GuMiho originally had planned, I believe, when he added on those additional units. Swarm Host, however, are coming up right now for Dark. Keep in mind, though, Dark already had a Spire from the early game. So obviously the Mutas were quite nice in the sense that they, well, allowed him to go for additional upgrades a little bit quicker. Nidus Worm is now going to allow transportation right here for those Swarm Hosts. I'm assuming they're going to be popping out at the front here momentarily. No Planetary Fortress anymore in this area. 4 Battlecruisers are coming up right here for GuMiho. But here comes Dark once again with attack wave number 79. Or 69? Whichever one it was. I don't remember. I haven't been counting. Pretty close to that number though at this point, because the man is just not letting go of the aggression. Command center not lifted in time, so it ends up going down. There's the Locust Wave coming up, forcing this, this command center to stop morphing into a planetary. Normally we see Overlords dropping Creep or maybe a burrowed Zergling, but I guess a Nidus Worm sort of achieves the same job, making it difficult for the Terran to expand there. More Corrosive Biles and Roaches just go after every single one of these command centers. No liftoff here either. GuMiho is not fast enough to go toe-to-toe right here with Dark, who is playing an absolute monster of a game. Now the Battlecruisers are out though, and the Battlecruisers are here mostly to try and create stability. Oh my god, I say that. Oh my god, assimilation successful. Dark Neural Parasites the Battlecruisers, stacks them together, and then Corrosive Biles them down. Hey, if you made it all the way until the end of this video, please take the 1 second that it takes to hit the like button down below. If you really enjoyed it, I try to post new videos pretty much every day. Make sure you hit that subscribe button so you get notified as soon as future videos go live. For now though, have a great rest of your day. Don't forget to smile, and I'll see you once again in the next one.